Well, hello. My name's Liz Wooten. I'm with Human Nature Development. And today I want to talk to you about three things. Three things that you are probably extremely familiar with if you are a business owner, if you are in a leadership role, if you're a manager. And those three things are pressure, stress, and burnout. And these are three major issues, three major problems that might feel to you like they're almost unavoidable in the job you have. They are things that are intrinsic to your role. And the only way to avoid them would be to leave your job completely. And that's probably not an option. But when stress levels are high, this is the problem. Your performance is drastically reduced. Your productivity goes down the drain. The risk of mistakes goes right up. Work is no longer fun. And maybe most seriously, your health and your life outside of work, your family, the things that you enjoy doing are affected. And it can reach a point where you barely avoid burning out, if at all. Feeling stressed out does not feel good. And whether you've experienced it yourself before or not, if you are a business owner, if you're in a management position, a leadership role, you are at risk of stress and burnout. So what do we do? Well, while pressure may be an intrinsic part of the job you do, it may just be something that you cannot avoid. The good news is that you can learn to deal with it more effectively and avoid high stress and burnout altogether. How do you do that? Well, you build your resilience to it. My job is to teach business owners and managers like you to deal proactively with the intrinsic stresses and pressures of their positions, to improve their resilience. And I do that using a 5-step program that I've developed called the 5 Pillars of Stress Resilience. So to start off, let me tell my story. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to feel the pressure and to be affected by high stress levels. I've been there myself. I understand all too well the dangers of those high stress levels, what it does to you, to your physical and your mental health, and how easy it is if you're a business owner or if you are in a leadership role to find yourself in a position where it all feels too much. Now, I actually developed this program almost by accident. I was running my own business at the time, which came with a lot of pressure. I was running a bridal retail business, and let me tell you, dealing with brides is hard. It's stressful. The customers have very high expectations. I felt pressure to perform well for my team. To always make sure that I was there for them. And, you know, they've got to get paid. I wanted them to be happy at work. And I didn't want them to have to deal with all of the customer problems either. At the same time, I'd actually spent several years working on myself. I was doing a lot more physical activity, and I was going through a whole program of personal development work for myself. Previously, prior to that, I hadn't been all that great under pressure. I'd suffered with high stress levels in a number of situations prior to that point. And like I say, it's hard to avoid them when you run a bridal store. And I had definitely let them affect me, and it had almost left me at crumbling point. So when I found myself in a couple of really stressful, high pressure situations going on. I had some fairly major ones going on at work and some fairly major ones going on with my family as well. I was really surprised to find myself coping extremely well with those. I felt positive, I felt energetic, I was pragmatic, and I wasn't crumbling under the pressure. So I started to ask myself, well, what happened? What is it that I'm doing differently? Clearly it wasn't just a magic trick. It wasn't luck. Something had changed, and I wanted to figure out what it was. But as I started to look at it, I realized it wasn't just one thing that I was doing that was responsible for the change. It was a whole combination of factors that I've been working on, actually completely separately from each other. And as I identified what they were, I realized that I'd inadvertently created a system that could be replicated and something that could help other people have the same experience and build their own stress resilience as well. And that's where this 5 Pillars program came from. So this program walks you through these 5 key areas. Ultimately, what you end up with is a personalized plan of action for increasing your resilience to stress. So what I want you to do is think of it like a heavy roof. So that heavy roof is being held up by these pillars. The pillars are your resilience, and the roof is the pressure that you're under. So the roof is exerting that downwards pressure, and the pillars are trying to hold it up. Now, if you have 5 pillars in place and each one is really strong and well built, they're going to be able to hold up a very heavy roof. They're going to be able to deal with a large amount of pressure. But if there are only 2 pillars and they're really thin and broken down, then they're not going to be able to do such a good job of holding much up at all. So this is really the image that I want you to build. Each of the 5 pillars is a different aspect that we look at. And we look at activity, we look at attitude, and we look at mindset. So they're all different parts of your life. And essentially what the program does is it helps you to, first of all, identify your biggest sources of stress and proactively address those before they become a major problem. So, we want to understand where the pressures come from in your life. We want to understand what you already do. So lots of people come do a program like this and they identify that they already are actually doing things. They just don't know what they are before they do it. And once you identify what you have, then you can build on it. So we use your existing activities, we use your existing positive behaviors as a base to create your personalized plan. What we also do is figure out which areas are your weakest ones. So we want to make a plan of action to improve on those weak areas as well. So we're building on the good stuff and we're taking the not so good stuff and we're making that much better. The ultimate goal is to be able to get you to a point where when the pressure is on, you're going to be able to maintain a much higher performance level, okay? Often what happens is performance and productivity will drop when there are high stress levels. The irony with that is that often when the pressure is on, you need to have higher performance than usual and higher productivity than usual. So what this program will do, once you increase your resilience, you can maintain higher performance at a higher level of pressure and also keep your productivity levels at their maximum, even at a point where previously they would have dropped off. You'll also find that you start to make fewer mistakes or even none at all. I know I'm very hard on myself if I make mistakes. I have perfectionist tendencies from that point of view. And I can be quite hard on others when they make mistakes too. The point where there is a lot of pressure is also a point where you generally want to make as few mistakes as possible so that you don't have to repeat things, so that you're not getting things wrong for your customers with really high expectations. The higher your stress level, the more mistakes you are likely to make. And I can think of a couple of times in my life when I have made some really, there's one that really sticks with me. Very long time ago, I was applying for a job, and this was at a point where I really, really hated entering into a recruitment process. It made me feel horrible. I hated it. It put me under a lot of pressure and I got very stressed about it. And not once, but twice, I managed to send the wrong document as an attachment as my resume. Not once, but twice, because my stress levels were so high. Needless to say, I didn't get an interview for that job. But those are the kinds of things that can happen when you're under high stress, and the things that you really want to avoid. One of the other really great things about building your stress resilience is that you'll have more fun. A lot of the time, a lot of the words that I hear people use are jaded and fed up with doing this job now, when previously it was something that they loved, something they really enjoyed to do. And when you feel jaded, that can be because there is so much pressure. All you see is the bad stuff. All you see is the pressure. All you see is the stress. You don't feel good about doing your job anymore. And the things you used to enjoy have disappeared. When you can build your resilience to the things that cause you stress, then you start to have fun again. And that's great. If you run a business, if you're in a leadership role in a business, it's good for everybody if you have more fun. You have a better time, so does everybody else. And here's the other thing about having fun. Fun builds productivity, it builds motivation, and it will increase the success of your business as well. Here's a huge one. When you build your resilience to stress and you are able to deal with it in a healthier way, that will have huge benefits on your health. Stress affects most of us at some stage, and it affects us physically, and it affects our mental health as well. It kind of goes without saying, but the physical effects on their own can have dire consequences for our health. You know, the hormones that rush around our bodies when we're stressed, the dehydration, the pain it can cause us, the muscular tension. And that's before you even start to look at the mental health consequences. So this is, I think, probably the biggest one for me, is that this program has such huge benefits. If you put together your plan and you follow it, it makes such a big difference to how you feel, not just at work, but at home with your family, how you feel about what you're doing with your life. It's huge. And you will maintain better health if your stress levels are kept to a minimum. If you're less stressed, you're less tired. That means you have more energy for life outside of work. That's more energy for your family, for your spouse, for your friends, and for the things that you enjoy to do. Never mind other people, just more energy for things you love to do. And also, if you reduce your stress level, if you reduce that baseline stress level, you recover more quickly from high pressure situations. So when you have been in a very high pressure situation, what will tend to happen, even with good resilience, is your stress level will spike. It will come up from where it usually is at the baseline, and it will spike. If you proactively deal with your stress, then you will recover more quickly. That spike won't turn into a plateau. It will just be a spike. It will go back down, and it will return back to a lower base level than if your stress levels are at a much higher level in the first place. So how do we do this? Well, the 5 Pillars program is usually delivered as private one-to-one coaching. So what we do is we work through all of 5 of the pillars, and we create you a completely personalized plan. It can also be delivered in a workshop setting. So if you have a management team that you think would benefit from learning their own stress resilience, it can be delivered in a workshop setting. And I do run the odd training day at selected venues and online as well. So it's a workshop setting. If you want to attend it as an individual, you can do it that way. And then you build your own plan once you've worked through the training. So the next step, if you are interested, is to book a free discovery session. So what we do there is we arrange to chat about your situation. We talk about the program, how it's going to help you. And most importantly, we see if we're a good fit to work together. This is the important bit. It's very important when you take on a coach that you fit well with them. You need to listen. you need to like me first of all. You need to, then you'll feel like you want to listen to me. Then you will trust me, and you'll believe what I say, which is all very important stuff if you're going to make some life-changing decisions. You need to know that I'm on your side and that I'm there to support you, and you need to feel 100% comfortable with me. So the discovery session is really for you to discover whether this is the right thing for you. It's completely free. There's no obligation to continue with anything if you don't feel like that's the right thing for you. So this program is for you if any of the following things apply. If you own a business or you're in a management or leadership role, if you are required to deal with high pressure situations and be effective about how you deal with them, and that usually goes with the territory of those roles that I just mentioned. If you are required to perform to a high level and meet high expectations, either from customers or your team or your boss or your family even. If you have high expectations you need to reach, again, often goes with the territory of owning or running a business. If you have had less fun recently at work and you want to get back to having more fun again, you want to get rid of that horrible 1,000-pound weight feeling on your chest every time you have to go into work, this could be a way to do it. If you sometimes feel completely overwhelmed by everything that is expected of you, this program is good for you. If you want to proactively reduce the negative impact that stressful situations have on you, if you find yourself feeling horrible every time there is pressure, you need to deal with your stress in a more effective way. And as a bonus, if you want to improve some other parts of your life that may not seem like they're related, that's actually what often happens when you do this program. Like I mentioned before, it covers activity, it covers, as in physical activity, it covers attitude, and it covers mindset. So often what happens is if somebody is feeling kind of negative about things, part of this program teaches you how to think more positively. So you will find that leaks into other parts of your life in a really good way. Part of it is about physical activity and, not necessarily strenuous, but that can have a really positive impact on you as well, and on other parts of your life, which wouldn't seem to be related to stress resilience. One of the focuses is on finding ways to do more of the things you love. That can have a really positive impact on your life in many ways too. Now, some people tell me, well, I'm not really that stressed at the moment, or, I don't tend to find that stress is really a problem for me. Well, that's great. That's really good news. But let me put it this way. If you're in a job that carries responsibility, whether that is financial responsibility or people management, or it's very deadline driven, so you have to get stuff done on time, or if you are responsible for keeping customers happy, that's a fairly big one, the probability that you will have to deal with pressure and stress is high. Now, maybe you're new to the job and you're still in the honeymoon period and you're loving dealing with all of that right now, and it's fantastic. That's great. Bear in mind that at some point in the future, that may change. And the more resilient you are, the more skills you have developed at that point, the lower the impact that negative pressure is going to have on you. Perhaps that's not the case, and perhaps you are resilient by accident, as I like to call it, which is fine. And that will keep you going until you inadvertently stop doing the things that keep you resilient. So I think that's how I was before I started to really pinpoint the things I had changed that had made me more resilient. So if you don't understand fully what you need to stay resilient, because you're just resilient by accident, your risk of succumbing to stress is just as high as anyone else's. You need to be conscious of what works for you And this system will help you to identify the things you currently do without thinking. It will build on those and add to them, creating you a really solid plan that you can refer to whenever you need to. And in fact, working on building resilience before you really need it, before you feel really stressed, will amplify your results and will make your response to stress much more positive. The idea with this is to prevent the bad stress happening in the first place. Now, you might also be thinking, well, you know, I think I'm pretty good at dealing with stress. I work out when I'm feeling stressed out, and that works for me. That's great. And that is great. I would highly recommend that you keep doing that. But what other coping mechanisms do you have? So what happens if you can't work out for some reason because your time is too short, maybe? And often that's what happens when pressure is high. If you have a mountain of work to do and your time is very short, you don't have time to work out. Or what happens if you're injured? And this has happened to me. One of my key things that I did for years was martial arts, and that was a large part of one of my pillars. Over the past 12 months, I've been dealing with a back injury and a shoulder injury, which have really affected my ability to train regularly. I have 5 pillars that I work on, so they can still hold up that heavy roof, even with a slightly reduced one on one side. If you only have that one, if you're injured and you can't work out anymore, that's going to become a problem. Most people identify one strategy that they have to keep them feeling less stressed. But the beauty of having the beauty of this system with the 5 pillars is that it helps you to build 5 strategies in 5 different areas. So it's covering mindset, it's covering attitude, it's covering activity. And the stronger your pillars, the better they keep up the roof, even if one has to drop out for a while. So let's talk about how it actually works, how it's delivered. This program is usually delivered, like I said before, through private coaching, and we can spread that either over a number of sessions, or if you want some really accelerated results, we can do it in one intensive VIP day. So we build that program in one very intense day, which you can then start to implement straight away. So what we do is we work together through each pillar, and through a process of discussion and brainstorming. We talk lots about what you do, what your stresses are. We build your personalized plan together to make sure that we have developed as much strength as we possibly can in each of those 5 pillars. By the end of the program, by the end of that planning stage, you should really have a good self-awareness of how pressure is impacting you, and also understand in really simple terms with a very solid plan what you need to do about it. So we agree what you're going to be working on, or what you're going to do or stop doing. And then we set a date and a time for a follow-up session so that we can review how everything is going, and make some course corrections. Now, for teams, the program can also be delivered in a private workshop. So if you want to find out more about that, you can book a discovery session, and the links to do that are in the link below this video. You can also check out our calendar of group training days. So we do run some group training days for individuals to attend at selected venues, and sometimes we do them online as well. So that provides you a really cost-effective way to learn the pillars and to create your own resilience plan that you can work on. The first thing you need to do, though, is just talk to me. So book that discovery session. So we simply, for that, we get together by phone, by Skype, and we talk about your situation and we see if we're a good fit to work together. Like I said before, this is really, really important. And that's why it's free. There's no obligation to continue if you don't feel that it's right for you and if you don't think that we're a fit for each other. So if you're happy and you decide that you want to go ahead with the program, enrollment is $14.97, and that's Canadian dollars for the private coaching option. You can book a VIP coaching day in January for only $7.95. I have opened up some days for that Obviously, time is the slots are limited. So if you want to go ahead and book a VIP coaching day, which will give you accelerated results, then make sure you request that discovery session now, so you don't miss out on that really good offer. So that's a VIP coaching day to work through all 5 pillars for $795 plus a follow-up coaching session once you've got settled in with your plan. Now, work-related stress is one of the biggest causes of lost productivity in Canadian businesses. And lost productivity immediately translates to lost income. So if you can learn to proactively deal with work-related stress, how much is that worth to your business? And then think about your current coping strategies on a personal level. How much money do you spend on things like wine or other booze to help you relax and get over the stresses and strains of the day? How much do you spend doing retail therapy when you're feeling a bit stressed and you feel like going and buying some stuff is going to help? How much do you spend on spa treatments to help you relax, or on treats to make you feel better, or eating out because you feel too stressed to cook, or a gym membership that you know that you really don't use but you keep because in theory working out helps with stress and because you know you should? And how much do you spend on treating the kids or your spouse to make up for you not being so much fun lately? In fact, there's actually often a direct correlation between high stress levels and the tendency to overspend. And spending may feel good in the short term, but it can lead to even more stress in the long term. So it's time to end that cycle. This investment will help you to do that. So perhaps the question you should be asking is more about whether you can afford not to address your stress. Book that free stress resilience discovery session now. Click on the link under the video and you will find the option there to book that session. Remember, there is no obligation to continue if you don't feel it's right for you. And I really look forward to talking to you.